I entered the profession through the back door, so to speak. I'd always been involved in fine arts. I'd done a lot of different things in fine arts, from painting to sculpture. I went to Cal Berkeley. I got a degree in architecture, and I really liked architecture, but I was turned off by the profession, and I left it. And I started a career in photography that took me down a number of different streets, and eventually I became a photojournalist. And I think I was probably in my late 20s or early 30s making a living, or trying to make a living as a photojournalist. And as almost a backhanded way, I said, I could probably augment my living by photographing architecture. Um, and so I bought an old view camera, and I started to build a portfolio. And then I called some friends of mine from school and said, "You guys have a couple projects, can I photograph them?" And I started photographing their work, and then I built a portfolio, basically. And I was lucky in the sense that a number of really good folks who had been practicing in the profession for a generation were starting to retire. So all of a sudden there was a dearth of folks doing it. And within about a year's time, the only people who were calling me were architects. It's pretty quick. Yeah, but it was pretty situational too. I was at the right place at the right time, and I really did like using that guy. It was a very slow, methodical. Everything about it was methodical. It was like going from checkers to chess. It was quite. It was a positive learning experience, and I also enjoyed working with the design communities. A lot of these guys I knew. I mean, they were folks that I'd either gone to school with, and I had a certain affinity to working with them, so it worked out just fine. My job is to document a history of art in a way, a history of culture, and then preserve that so that 50 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, someone will be able to have access to those transparencies or those negatives or those digital files and say, aha, this is how people lived in the late 20th century. And I think that's important. And I think it's an honorable role, and I think it's an important role because, in fact, we are being witness to history. The history that I'm witnessing is an aesthetic one. It's a cultural one, but we're still being witness to history, and I think that's important. In everything that's done in architecture, the basic foundation is how can we make people's lives better? What can we do to improve their situation? Whether it's a hospital or a prison or a school or a train station. That's the idea. How can we provide shelter and then make that shelter a good place to be? Modern buildings have a unique relationship with the out of doors. The paradigm has some about 4 or 5 unique characteristics. A flat roof, little ornamentation, walls that are homogeneous and contiguous, and continuous. So you have a long wall of stone, or a long wall of glass, or a long wall of brick, and you can use any of those materials, but they're continuous and they're generally without ornamentation, and the walls define in a very loose way an open space. Well, what I said in my book, California Cool, California has a really unique environment that is perfectly suited for modern design. The semi-arid character of the climate, the fact that you have a relatively narrow change of temperature from season to season allows great interactivity. It's almost as if the guys who kind of developed modern architecture in Germany in the 1920s lived in California. Maybe they wanted to live in California. Who knows? But this is like the perfect environment for modern architecture. Modern buildings tell a very important story. They tell a story of meritocracy and egalitarianism, a society where everybody has a fair chance at succeeding.